That's the first word I remember. Low, direct, controlled. Not chaotic, commanding. Then footsteps. Boots. Multiple. Echoing somewhere behind me. I couldn't see faces. I couldn't see uniforms. But I knew they were there. A unit moving with purpose. There was chatter. Short. Clipped. Tactical.
Clear left. Hold. Advance.
And then one voice slightly sharper than others.
He's aware.
A pause.
Drop it. Bunker in the hole.
And something detonated. Not in front of me, inside me. It felt like a controlled explosion went off in my head. Not violent in a bloody way, structural, like something braced for decades had just been blown open. I wasn't in the ceremony space anymore. I was underground, concrete walls, dark, damp air, like a bunker buried beneath reality. And there was a small opening, just enough to see out into the world. From where I was positioned, everything made sense. Not visually, not intellectually, but structurally. I understood my life. I understood my patterns. I understood my fear. And I couldn't have explained any of it if you asked me. It was comprehension without language. And here's the part that still surprises me. I wasn't scared. I should have been. There are military voices in my head. There's an explosion happening inside my brain. I'm in some kind of underground chamber, watching reality through a slit in the wall. But I wasn't afraid. Because the fear already happened. Every ceremony had this moment before it broke open. It started in my body, nausea rising, a kind of electrical movement under my skin. If I was on my stomach, my legs would twitch, my glutes would clench involuntarily. My nervous system felt like it was being rewired. Then the weight would come, heavy, dense, like gravity turning up. And right before it peaked, I would purge. Head down, bucket in front of me, letting something out. And each time I had the same thought. This is fear leaving. Not poetic, not symbolic, physical. Like my body had been storing something for years and it finally had a release valve. Then came the pull, the black hole moment. The point where you feel like you're about to lose yourself. That's where most people resist. That's where I used to resist in life. In relationships, in conflict, in vulnerability. But in that Maloka, I learned something. If I fought it, the experience tightened. If I surrendered, it opened. The night of the bunker, I surrendered. And something in me was dismantled or rebuilt. I don't know which. I don't pretend those were literal soldiers. I don't claim it was a mystical warfare inside my brain. What I know is this. Before Peru, anxiety felt permanent. After that explosion, it felt negotiable. Something about that experience changed my relationship to fear. And I didn't even fully understand it until it came home. And that's what stayed with me. Not the explosion, not the bunker. The fact that I wasn't afraid. Because before Peru, fear ran my life. So the real question isn't what I saw. It's this. Why did I fly 3,000 miles to let a plant medicine deconstruct my identity? I wasn't chasing visions. I was trying to figure out if I was permanently wired this way. At 41, I had a job. I functioned. On paper, I was fine. But internally, I felt stuck in a loop. I experienced depression. Anxiety was humming every day. Relationships that wouldn't last. Connection that just felt out of reach. And one thought that wouldn't leave me. If I don't change something, this is my life. That's why I went. And here's what I'm going to show you. Not a psychedelic story, not a spiritual flex. I'm going to show you what happens when you step directly into the thing that's been running your entire life. I'm going to show you how fear operates inside the nervous system, how identity is constructed, and what it feels like when that structure cracks. Because what happened in that jungle wasn't about a plant. It was about confronting the operating system underneath my behavior. And once you see that, once you actually see it, you can't unsee it. That's what this is all about. If you're going to confront the operating system underneath your life, you don't do it halfway. You go to the source. The Temple of the Way of Light sits deep in the Amazon. You reach it by boat. The engines fade behind you. The jungle closes in. The air changes, thicker, alive. You feel like you've stepped outside the modern world and into something older. The ceremonies happen inside a structure called a Maloka, circular. Tall wooden beams open to the night air. At night, it becomes almost completely dark. Real darkness, the kind that makes you aware of your own breathing. Inside the room, there were about 25 mats arranged in a circle. Each person has a pillow, a blanket, a bucket, and a red hand lamp in case they needed to find a path to the bathroom through the jungle. No phones, no talking, no distractions. Just you and whatever your nervous system has been carrying. Before every ceremony, the healers teach you to set an intention. Not a wish, not a fantasy, a question. Something honest enough that your system can't dodge it. The mind organizes itself around a question you bring into the room. One of my intentions was simple. I wanted to understand love. Not the idea of love, the real thing. Why connection felt easy for some people, but complicated for me. Another ceremony, I asked something more direct. What is actually holding me back? What is the thing underneath the anxiety, the hesitation, the feeling that I always half a step away from the life that I want? Those were the questions I carried into the Maloka. The first ceremony was quiet, almost nothing happened, and that turned out to be important because it removed expectation. By the second and third ceremonies, things began to open. My body always knew first. A wave of nausea moved underneath my skin. If I laid on my stomach, my legs would twitch, my muscles would clench involuntarily. It felt like electricity running through my nervous system. Then the purge, head down. The bucket was in front of me, and every time it happened, it felt less like sickness and more like something being released. Fear isn't abstract. It lives in the body, in tension, in breath, in the muscles that stay tight long after the moment that created them. At some point in the night, the healers begin to sing. These songs are called Icaros. They don't sing them to the room. They sing them to you. One by one, they move slowly throughout this circle, stopping beside each person, listening, feeling, then singing something slightly different for every body lying there. When they reached me, the melody changed. the rhythm shifted. And when they began singing over me, my experience moved. The sound didn't feel like music. It felt like movement. Like the song was traveling through my nervous system, touching places that had been quiet for years. Sometimes it felt calming, like something smoothing tension out of my body. Other times, it felt like pressure, like something buried was being pulled closer to the surface. You realize quickly this isn't performance. They're working, interacting with whatever is rising inside you. And when the medicine deepens, something neurological happens. The part of the brain responsible for maintaining your identity, story, the running narrative of who you think you are begins to loosen. The story softens, and when that structure loosens, material surfaces. Memories, emotional imprints, old scenes. Not because the plant inserts anything, because the control center relaxes. One night I began moving backward through my life, not metaphorically. I was walking through empty buildings, my elementary school. Hallways were silent, lockers were closed. No people, just space. Then, the church I grew up in, wooden pews, light shining through the stained glass. Still, no people. Then the house we lived in, rooms I hadn't thought about in decades. And something about those places landed emotionally in a way I didn't expect. Not sadness, recognition. Like my nervous system was showing me where certain rules had been written, where approval started to matter, where comparison took root, where parts of me learned to stay quiet so other parts could belong. Through a behavioral intelligence lens, what I was seeing wasn't mystical. It was pattern formation. Needs trying to secure certainty, belonging, significance. Strategies forming early to protect those needs. Strategies that slowly harden into personality. And personality feels permanent until something loosens it. That same night, the scene moved further back than memory. I was in a hospital room, bright lights, quiet voices. My parents were there, and that was it. No story, no interpretation, just origin. Like my nervous system had taken me to the moment that program started first running. By the time the later ceremonies arrived, the threshold was familiar. Every breakthrough came through the same doorway. Heaviness, pressure, a moment where it felt like something inside me was about to dissolve. People call that ego death. But what it actually feels like is the moment your defended identity realizes that it can't stay in control. And when that happens, you come face to face with the strategies your nervous system built to survive. Distance, control, overthinking, withdrawal. Inside ceremony, you don't analyze those patterns. You feel them. That's where things finally started breaking open for me. Not the visions, not the jungle aesthetic, the confrontation, the moment where the structure of who you believe you are starts to crack. And once that crack opens, that's when the night of the bunker happened. The voices, the explosion, the detonation. And once you start noticing the pattern, something else happens. You stop assuming every feeling is a command. For most of my life, if fear showed up, it meant something was wrong. Wrong decision, wrong person, wrong direction. So I'd pull back, I'd change course, overthink it until the moment passed. But after Peru, fear started to feel different. Not gone, just quieter. Like a signal instead of a verdict. And that's when I realized something I wish I had understood years earlier. Your nervous system is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you alive. Those are very different goals. Survival systems are conservative. They repeat what worked before, even if what worked was just avoiding pain. So if a younger version of you learned that closeness led to rejection, your nervous system remembers that. If it learned that speaking up leads to embarrassment, it remembers that too. And it will try, very convincingly, to keep you inside those boundaries. Not because it hates you, because it thinks it's protecting you. That's the loop most people spend their lives inside of. Past pain quietly writing the rules for the future. And unless you notice it, you start calling those rules destiny. And you say things like, I'm just an anxious person. I'm just not good at relationships. I guess that's just how life goes. But sometimes it's not destiny. Sometimes it's just an old protection pattern still running long after the threat is gone. That's what that trip showed me. Not how to escape fear, how to see it. And once you see it, something strange happens. The moment fear shows up, you can pause. You can ask a different question. Not, what's wrong with me? But, what is my system trying to protect right now? That single question changes everything. Because instead of fighting yourself, you start understanding yourself. Instead of running the same loop, you interpret it. And slowly, the future stops looking like a copy of the past. That's the real thing it brought home from the jungle. Not the visions, not the ceremony. Just the realization that the story in my nervous system had been rehearsing for years didn't have to be the one that I lived. And maybe that's the part I want to leave with you. Somewhere in your life right now, there's probably a moment where fear shows up, a conversation you've been putting off, a chance you haven't taken, a place where part of you wants to move forward and another part pulls back. When that happens, just pause for a second and ask the question I wish I had known sooner. What is my nervous system trying to protect? Because the moment you start asking that question, you no longer are trapped inside the pattern. You're watching it. And once you can see the pattern, you can start writing a different future.